What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today we finally got some big mods in for the 2020 here behind me. Now I would say this is probably one of the first series on pushing the 2020 to its limits. Now a lot of people are messing with the 17 through 19 trucks. Not too many people you see are messing with the 2020 trucks just because the 17 through 19 trucks are just such a proven platform right now. Between the Allison 1000, they have trans tuning, the whole boat. You can really make some really good power with those trucks just because everything's there right now for them. The 2020 trucks now, on the other hand, the transmissions are kind of untested. It's kind of a newer truck. You don't see too many people really trying to make some power with them. So I want to be the one to kind of really push the limits of the 2020 truck. Like I said, there's not too many people doing them. And I think it's kind of interesting too to see myself on what these trucks can handle. Now some people are actually having issues with transmissions factory form. Like I said, we're going to be the ones to push the limits of this transmission just a little bit more. Now, a lot of people are saying that these transmissions hold up great on just tuned power around the 600 mark. A lot of people are saying once you go bigger turbo, anything of that sort to start making over that power level, you're going to start running into some issues. So I'm going to test that out, see if we actually run into some issues, which I don't know. I'm not one to really beat on my stuff hard. I want a high horsepower truck, but I'm not the one who's going to be beating the crap out every day. I just want to build a nice, reliable, kind of street truck, I would say. I want to actually make 1,000 horsepower, just sit around that mark right there. I'm going to have enough air when I do this, probably for around 1,300 horsepower, but I'm going to shoot for 1,000 for now, see where that takes me. But without further ado, let's get into the big mod that we finally got for this truck today. As you can see, Stealth. Now this is actually one of Stealth's first production run turbos. I actually got an early one, luckily. I'm going to be working with them pretty closely with this turbo. Report my feedback, because they have not, I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, run one yet on the 2020 truck. Now, I wish I could throw this turbo in today, but I'm running into some issues. One, the tuning. I'm waiting back on that because no one's done one on a 20 truck yet, so they got to get the maps and all that stuff figured out for this just so I can run it. I'm going to have to data log it a few times then and make sure it's all good. And also, too, it is a Friday. Now, when I go ahead and rip this turbo out, let me pop the hood and show you what I'm talking about. Now, when you rip this turbo out, as you can see right over in here, most likely, there's oil feed lines on the turbo. So oil and coolant feed lines. And this turbo does not come with new gaskets. Now, I want to do it right the first time just so I never have to touch this again. And just make sure I get the best results out of it. Now, I'm going to order all new gaskets from GM OEM. I already called them up. I got a brand new, the oil feed line, the coolant feed and coolant return lines. I got all new gaskets for that, turbo pedestal gasket. I got a new one of those, just so when I throw this in, I know it's making peak power, peak potential. You probably could reuse these gaskets, but I'm not about that. I'd rather spend the 30 bucks and get all brand new gaskets. I don't want to pull it in, take it out 3 times to replace those. So I'm just gonna go over today this turbo, because this actually blew my expectations. Kind of already looked it over. Now this is a huge turbo. We're gonna go over everything about it here in a minute. Let me pull out of the box and show you what we're working with here. I'm just going to set this camera up just because I kind of need 2 hands for this. I don't want to drop this almost $4,000 turbo on the floor. So, as of right now, I got this in basically a raw finish. It's not powder coated yet. Oh my god, this thing's massive. Okay, so here's the turbo. We're going to get unwrapped here. I just want to be very careful that I do not get contaminants or anything of that sort into this turbo because it's a very expensive turbo. Now, I'm going to go ahead and real quick just pull its wrapping off and we'll dive a little bit deeper into the actual specifications on the turbo. Here we are. This is the Stealth 67 G2 series from Calibrated Power, Duramax tuner. Same thing. Look at this billet wheel in here. This thing is literally so nasty. Stealth 67 on it. This wheel is absolutely flawless. It looks great. I can only imagine how much air this thing's going to move. Now, let me pull the spec sheet out of the box right here real quick. Hopefully I left it in here somewhere. I actually had to run over to my house quick because I left it next door, but this is everything done to the turbo that has been done. As you can see, it's quite a long list, so I'm going to try to go over it very quickly in short terms of what's actually done to this turbo. Basically, this is kind of just the inspection sheet on when they built the turbo. Like I said, this whole turbo is basically pulled apart, redone. This is an 800 wheel horsepower capable turbo when you have correct fueling. Now, the stock HP4 pump on this truck can make about 800 wheel, but that's really pushing the limits of that HP4 pump. And we're gonna start running into some issues is around 750 horse, somewhere around that area. Your injector is going to be tapped. That's basically all the fuel those injectors can spray. Now my plan for this, I want to get S&S 150 over injectors. Like I said, I want to go big power down the road. I know 100 overs would be plenty, but when you're already shelling out that type of money for the injectors, the difference between 100 and 150, the price range, you might as well get the 150 overs. Now, they can easily turn those injectors down. You might not get the best results if you're running stock application, run 150 overs. I know one of my good buddies, 3Cal Sal, I was talking to him a little bit. He ran the 150 over S&Ss on his truck, and he said it got all the fuel it needed. Wasn't really laggy. They really didn't have an issue with the tuning. The truck ran pretty good with 150 overs. Now he's sitting around, I believe, the 750, 800 mark with that HSP turbo he had on his truck. So, like I said, it's when I want to go higher horsepower. I want to get 150 over injectors for now. One thing I'm also going to do a next week upload, maybe not when I do the turbo install. I got a fast 220 pump I'm also going to throw on the truck. I don't really need that. I just want it for reassurance, just has a water separator, and I know the factory lift pump has all that stuff. I'd rather just get that, be safe than sorry. I know some people, Fast kind of has a bad rep right now with the L5Ps. I've ran them plenty of times. Not my truck personally, but a couple of my good buddies, we have Fast on them. The HP or the lift pump on this truck is actually kind of noisy from the factory. When you have a truck, it's going to be like this caliber. It's going to be super loud as it is. So take it for what it's worth. The lift pump's a little bit loud, so be it. I don't think it's gonna be that bad. That's the complaint Fast is having with these trucks. They sound like a garbage disposal. But they're kind of loud. Some people opt toward the air dogs. I'm gonna run the Fast, see how I like it. Like I said, my buddies have it. No complaints. If it really bothers me that much, which I don't think it will, maybe we'll switch over to air dog at that point. But getting back on topic with the Stealth, I'm gonna flip it over real quick to show you the exhaust side housing. Like I said, this whole turbo is redesigned, redirected to make 800 wheel. This is still a VGT turbo, which is very nice. It still has all vanes in it, everything like that. The thing is, when you start running the factory turbo applications, the vanes can only open up so wide. They can only move so much air. That's why kind of non-VGT turbos people run towards. But spool up with those really isn't the best because there's no vanes. But once the boost hits, it hits. This one I'm curious to see how it's going to perform, but let me flip this over quick and just show you how massive this exhaust side housing is on this, because it's literally ridiculous. Okay, so this is the exhaust side housing. Like I said, this thing is just a gigantically massive turbo. It's really not bigger, I should say. It's just a massive turbo. Like, these L5P just have big turbos in general from the factory, but it's really not. It's probably the exact same size as the one that's in the truck. It's basically just all built internals. Now I want to run over a couple of things when I was talking to calibrated power, what you have to do when running these turbos, and I'm going to do everything physically possible to make sure I'm not going to run into an issue with this turbo, and I do it the 100% correct way. So if anyone's watching this and they want to do a Stealth, I want to throw it out there. I do sell these. If you guys want to hit me up for one, I can get you on a pre-order for one. The lead time right now is kind of getting out there because a lot of people are moving these. Because, to be honest, it's probably going to be the highest demand turbo for the L5P. It's going to be the most desired one just because the drop-in and it can make the power level it does. Like the LML is such a desired turbo. And it's literally just drop-in. You don't got to do anything. Keep the factory pedestal, any of that. So if you guys want one, let me know. But we'll dive into everything that you have to do with this. All the backstory on it. And just to make sure that you're going to run into no issues. One is that you're going to have to pre-oil this turbo. Over here on this side, as you can see, it says pre-oil. So what you're going to do is just take some motor oil, the same oil that you're going to run in the truck. Please don't use anything else, cheap oil. Just run whatever weight oil you run in your truck. So you're going to tip it on its side. You're going to watch it come out the oil drain. Now this does not have the oil drain on it. You're going to have to retain that one from your factory turbo. One thing I want to talk about really quick too, there's just so much to talk about with this turbo. I was looking into getting a whole new oil drain. Now, when I pull the turbo out, I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about exactly. But the oil drain from the factory, when you pull it out, the bottom has a gasket that's riveted onto it. Now, if you want to buy a whole new oil drain, you can't get it with the rivets on there already. you would have to basically grind those rivets off, put a new gasket on there, and probably just gasket seal it on there just so it stays in place, because the way it is, the gasket's on the bottom of the oil drain, it sits down the turbo, so it's going to be floating, so you have to put something on there to prevent it from falling off. So that's really not an option right now that I want to explore. I'm going to retain the factory oil drain. I just wanted to get a new one just so I wouldn't have any leaks, running issues. But just be very careful if you're pulling that turbo out that you do not bend that oil drain gasket on the bottom that's riveted, because it's going to be a nightmare to get it. You would probably have to buy a whole new pipe that doesn't have the rivets on there already, which I think is weird. It comes from the factory with rivets, but they don't sell it from GM with rivets on it. It's kind of stupid. But yeah, do that. When we take it off, I'm going to show you all the torque specs. Next video of me installing this turbo, we're going to go on a little test drive. So much content to come with this turbo. Next thing I want to talk about also is with this turbo, I want to grab my factory intake horn really quick. So let me grab that and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about with that. Okay, so now I got my factory intake horn right here. I want to talk about this in depth too. They told me that if you ever run the Stealth Turbo, it is 100% must that you have to get an intake horn that's 3.5 inches. Worley has one. I'm not sure if HSP has one at this time. As you can see, this factory intake horn is very, very constricted right here. As you can see how it comes out, this is not going to be able to provide the air that this turbo needs to flow. Now, as many of you guys may know, if you've been following me for a while, I already have, as you can see it right in there, I have a gold turbo horn already on here, 3.5 inch. If you ever run the Stealth Turbo, it is 100% must that you have to run the intake horn. They told me that right off the bat. One thing I want to talk about now a little bit is the factory airbox. Okay, so as many of you guys may know, SMB is the only one out right now that has an intake out for the 2020 trucks, I believe. Really haven't been following that closely. Now, when I was talking to Calibrate It, they said that this factory airbox is plenty. This thing can provide all the air that it needs for this turbo. I think they told me their buddy truck at Calibrated made like 715, 720 on a dyno factory airbox. A lot of people sleep on these factory airboxes. They think they're not good. Apparently they can move plenty of power. One thing I'm probably just gonna do is pick up a resonator pipe right here, delete all this crap, just to make it flow a little bit better. What I'm also gonna do is take out my air filter and throw a brand new one in there. Even though it probably doesn't have that many miles and it's probably still brand new, you do not want to suck any debris into this turbo. So you want to take the airbox apart, which I'm going to do in the next video when I put the turbo in, inspect it, shop vac it out, clean it out, do whatever you got to do. Make sure the whole system is clear. After I clean the airbox out, we're going to get the turbo back in, new air filter, and like I said, all new turbo gaskets. First thing I'm going to do after I test drive it the first time, I'm going to come back, drain the oil, put brand new oil in this truck. I want to do everything in my power to make sure that I am not going to mess up a $4,000 turbo, and I encourage anyone that run one of these to do the exact same. Like I said, you don't want to run into any issues. It's so easy to do this stuff up front. You don't want to be running into issues down the road. So, yeah, that's basically all the scoop on the Stealth for now. I cannot wait to get this in Monday into my truck when I get all my gaskets in. I'm curious to see how it sounds. Now, I heard it may just sound exactly like the factory one. I'm not sure yet. I'm curious at wide open throttle how it's going to run, perform. So hopefully get my tuning figured out, all that stuff back, and we can run this turbo next week. So if you guys are excited to see the Stealth drop-in turbo, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you guys like what you saw in this video, be sure to leave it a big thumbs up. Like I said, so much content to come with the 2020. But until next video, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.